Hey guys, welcome back to Time Under Tension. Today we are in episode 10 and we're talking about power, specifically the power that all of us hold. And that power lies in our ability to have choices in life, our free will, which is probably the greatest gift I think God could have ever given us, is our ability to kind of shape this life and ourselves into what and who we want to be in alignment with our highest purpose. So, what does this topic mean to you, and how has this been coming up in your life?
I think one of the biggest ways that this has come up in my life is really just seeing that I have the power to choose, and that the things that are happening to me, my external circumstances, the emotions I feel, the thoughts that I have are not the things that define me or things that I have to identify with. I think it's can be really difficult to have thoughts inside your mind and emotions inside your body and not feel like that is who you are, and identifying that, the having the awareness to know that I have a choice in how I am responding to a stimulus, or that I have the power to choose what thoughts and emotions truly mean to me in my self growth journey has been immensely impactful in my ability to not only learn myself, but to be a better person in all of my relationships. How about you?
I think I've appreciated feeling that power as well. And I feel like I've tried to find that solid ground as a person where I don't identify with emotions in different capacities throughout life. And sometimes not in the healthiest way. I think in the past, for me, it's been more of a numbing, like, okay, I don't want to allow things like emotions to dictate how I'm acting or how I'm feeling. So I'll just push them down until I'm not addressing them at all. Then on the flip side, I feel like I looked into and really got interested in stoicism, because stoicism to me was this opportunity of saying, okay, I am something bigger than these feelings and these emotions, but I can step outside of them and see them and choose to remain neutral. But I think there's a middle ground between completely suppressing your feelings and between allowing them to take over who you are and kind of dictate your behavior. And I think it's like an appreciation for your unique emotional response and giving yourself grace for when those emotions do come through, because we have emotions for a reason, and we have beliefs for a reason, but then being able to understand that you are more than those things. And you also have the power to, over time, change your program response and change your beliefs as you grow as a person.
Yeah, I could not have said a lot of that any better, especially from just some of the things I've been experiencing in my own personal life, knowing that I'm reading Claim Your Power. And I know we listened to the Impact Theory podcast on Mastin Kip, and this podcast episode, in terms of how I think both of us have been able to really come into this ability of claiming that power that we're talking about, is just from that initial YouTube video from him. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. If Claiming Your Power is a book definitely that I'm into right now, that kind of has been walking me through this 40-day intentional journey of understanding how to go about claiming the power that we're talking about. But I think it definitely challenges the end sentences that you mentioned about the happy balance, the in between of identifying fully with thoughts and emotions that we feel, and also the numbing that tends to happen if we don't want to even go into experiencing what those thoughts and feelings may actually reveal about our true selves, or our survival patterns or learned behaviors. And really one of the big things that stuck out to me was that when you're living a purpose-driven life, it is a divine purpose that is from your spirit and your soul. And it really does create this outside awareness that you are something, so a part of something so much greater, and all of the emotions and the thoughts that we're having are really just our bodies or your God, whatever your God is, whether that's the universe, Buddha, God, Jesus, whatever. That is like a true conversation with your God, is like your thoughts and the emotions that you're feeling, because they're guiding you back into alignment with your purpose that leads to the fullness and the peace and the joy and all of these things that we truly crave as human beings, that we're seeking out in external things. And so I just think that balance is really important, because the identification ends up leading down this road of self-destruction and negative thought patterns and no self-love. And then the suppressing of them don't actually allow for any healing. You're not able to live your purpose because you're not uprooting all of those, the stories and the false beliefs that you've come to think are truths.
I think you make a good point. It's independent of the specific deity, I guess, that you identify with as truth. And granted, we've kind of presented our beliefs, and different religions have different nuances. But I heard a quote by Einstein earlier, and he said, the most important decision we make is whether we believe that we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. And to me, that kind of boils it down even further to, okay, which belief, if that's our starting point for anything, any line of beliefs, whether that's, say, science-based or whether that's like religion-based or however you want to go with it. Do you believe that things are hostile or friendly? Do you believe that things are working for your good or not? And then your belief systems from there are really going to expand based on that initial thought. If you feel that things are hostile, if that's what you're choosing to believe, because we really do have the power, our first and foremost power, to choose our belief. If you believe things are hostile, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, because it will feel like you're fighting against everything in your life and you're surrendering your power with that initial belief. But if you believe that the universe is working in your favor for your greatest good, that alone gives you access to that power from which you can then decide, okay, what is this life that I want to create? What are the beliefs that do help me live my highest life? And knowing that you have that power as well to kind of prune those beliefs over time as you learn more, as you experience more, as you do the self-work necessary to understand how you function at your highest level. But it all starts from that state where you need to decide, do I have power in this life, or am I watching this life happen to me?
Yeah, that's super powerful. I think that's definitely something, that's an area that I think you do a great job of clarifying, especially just in our relationship. I struggled with this whole concept of belief because I had also heard that beliefs are limiting. They are boxes. And I think you just make such a good point that it's the initial root belief. If we believe that we are living in this world where the life, which all of us are a part of, it's not like your life and my life, it's like my thoughts in my mind and your mind in this life. This is life, is everything around us. We're all a part of the same life. And if we believe that that is working for us, that initial root belief in itself is going to contradict any kind of negative belief that doesn't serve you anymore. And I think just you making that clarification really helps me process in my mind a little bit further about going about questioning beliefs and how that should feel. And I think that's just been another area where I've noticed that I do have that power to choose what this means. If I have had this rooted belief for so long, especially in the realm of sexuality in the church, which is a big topic in my world right now, it's like what I've believed for so long, it's almost like you hold on to that and you have this sort of pride or ego about it. And so being able to step out of that and to know that, okay, I see why I am like resisting this change in belief now, because it's rooted in something I've believed for so long that I don't want to then feel like, you know, I have to keep my pride. I have to keep showing the world that I believed this thing for so long and back it up, instead of being willing to be open that my belief system is wrong for me. Even it doesn't even mean wrong for the world. It's like, this is keeping me stagnant and it's keeping me stuck, like the Walking Dead, instead of being fully alive. Then I need to be willing to understand I've had some pride around a particular belief that isn't serving me anymore, and it's okay to question that, as long as I'm staying grounded in that very first truth belief of this world, this universe, the life we're living in is working for my good. That then moving forward, what beliefs then actually formulate this life of fullness and peace.
I want to go back for a second to something you said about, this world being something that, this life being something that both you and I are in at the same time. Like, I think a lot of times we separate everyone's lives, like our lives are all differentiated from each other. But in reality, this is all one reality. And we're just looking at it through different lenses based on our unique makeup and background and the beliefs that we choose to have. I think that when we over identify with our beliefs, if those beliefs are then threatened, oftentimes by something outside of us, whether that's someone else's belief system or something like that, because we over identify with those beliefs so much, we feel that we lose our sense of identity if those beliefs become threatened. But if we go back to that core belief that the universe is working for our good, understanding that we are part of the universe, so then the even more, maybe even more deeply rooted belief is that we are good. If we can establish that we are good, we are love at our core, that supersedes any set of beliefs. So we can undermine and detach from our beliefs a little bit more, because we understand that more fundamentally than our beliefs, we are good. Yes. And I think being able to act out of that is what allows us to make decisions that aren't so emotionally based, because we understand that we can experience emotions. We understand that we can, like we've talked about in a previous episode, hold to two different viewpoints and examine them from the outside without needing to identify with either, but being able to look at them objectively.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think being able to look objectively just reminded me of another thing that I feel power of choice really plays into, the true power to heal. And I know we've talked a lot about healing ourselves and healing our bodies, but that we can't just think our way through all of that. There has to be, we have to check in with ourselves. We have to check in with our emotions. It's so important to not think that we can think our way through stuff. And I think when it comes to the power that we have, and knowing that we have a choice, when emotions come up, acknowledging those, when thoughts come up, acknowledging those, but knowing that both of them again are going back to guiding you along the path of your purpose.
And believing that those things serve you or did for a time. Mm-hmm. I think it's the acceptance of them as well. Like maybe anger is a frequent emotion for you, and socially it's a difficult emotion to deal with because there's not a lot of appropriate outlets for it. But I think one of the worst things you can do is kick yourself for feeling it or try to push it down because you're not really dealing with it in that sense. But you're also not giving it the credit that's due and saying, okay, this emotion has served me as a flag, a red flag, a warning signal in my life for something, for some reason. It's a deep rooted, evolutionarily based process in order to tell us something, tell our bodies or use our bodies to tell our minds something isn't working or something is wrong. So if we start to look at it as a signal that has served us, and maybe we can kind of reprogram that signal to express itself in different ways or to find a healthy, appropriate outlet for it. But until we accept it for what it is and understand that it's just an indication of something deeper and it's just a primitive sign of some deeper process, I don't think we can truly address it and begin to change our behaviors and reactions and kind of reprogram ourselves in a way that does serve us more effectively.
Yeah, I do want to read this. I was looking at this book because you mentioned Einstein, and I think this Einstein quote also just kind of wraps all of that together. And then I think it would be helpful if we both gave an example, because I think just saying like, if you're angry, it's okay to feel that fully and all of these things. Like I think sometimes that can be taken as, yes, just be angry and act out of that, but really that power to choose, once you have the stimulus that makes you angry, it's like you then have the choice and then you can respond. And I think the power is in that choice right there, because you can take that anger and lash out and think that that is the way to express the feeling or fully feel it, quote unquote, but really it's stimulus that makes you angry. Okay, then you ask yourself, why am I angry? And it takes you to a whole different level of thought. And then that's when I was going to read this Einstein quote. He says, Einstein has said that you cannot solve a problem from the same level of thinking that created it. And so with that, it's like when you have a particular level of thinking, and it's that is your level of behavior as well, and it shows up in your patterns of behavior, your survival patterns, or you might be feeling stuck in these areas of your emotions where you just can't help but lash out when you're feeling anger. It's like, to solve a problem or to really start to claim that power, you have to go deeper, you have to go next level thinking, which creates the space for that pause in the choice before you're responding to something. And I think just realizing that when something has been created, like you're talking about, not judging your thoughts, not judging what comes up in terms of your emotions, I think that's so important to be able to then reach that next level of thinking, because a lot of the times what served you before served you, and you're in your need to survive in that particular situation, but now you're continuing to grow into a new person that's living out your life fully, that when we're growing, we can't hold on to past survival patterns. So when we enter into a place now where we want to claim this power that we have because we feel stuck or stagnant, or the same things keep happening over and over and we can't figure out, why it is, it's like, well, let's go back to the very first thing, like the thought patterns we had back then that set those standards of behavior for ourselves, or those patterns of behavior, are now the things that we need to go back and reassess and look at fully, knowing that there's an emotional attachment to all of them that's leading to this behavior that we're doing. It's like that next level of thinking has to be what creates the change. Because if we're not changing the initial point of contact with what ends up leading to our behaviors, then there's no problem solving happening. We're not actually going back to the root of what it is that's going to then allow for growth and like true power that you feel within to change your patterns, change the area of your life that you feel stuck or stagnant in.
Mm. So tangible example that I think a situation many of us have probably been in. a couple months ago, maybe a month ago, I went to the DMV and I had an appointment ahead of time. I had all my paperwork. And regardless of how organized you are, you cannot anticipate the process that is the chaos of DMV. So I was at the front of the line, first thing in the morning. I go inside and realize there's now an entirely new line of people inside that is just a room full of kind of frustrated people. Apparently, there was one document of mine that was outdated and I had to get that addressed. And while I was working on that, I ended up getting pushed farther and farther back in the line. So it's kind of subconsciously, I'm like processing that more and more people are coming in. So as I'm trying to deal with this thing, because I had to call a company, I am just slowly seeing myself drop lower in this line and realizing like, who knows how long I'm going to be here. I had this plan in my head for how this day was going to go, and it's slowly crumbling. And I was really surprised at myself in a positive way at how low my anxiety stayed through this, because I have really spent a lot of intentional time focusing on what I can control and looking at each thing that I'm presented with as a potential lesson. And maybe there's something in this that I should be learning from, and I shouldn't see this as victimization, that this is something happening to me and I should just be angry and I did all my things, so I should be at the front of the line and I deserve to be seen, whatever. I had let go of all that, but I did kind of feel that anxiety build up. I addressed it. I rationalized with myself, look, I'm doing what I can. I'm checking the boxes that I can control, and I'm just going to wait for my turn. It's going to be a long day. I kind of knew that going in, and we'll go from there. So this started at like 8 in the morning, and by 11, I'm still sitting there. There's no, perceptible order for how they're calling people out. That's not in the order of the numbers or anything. So I have no idea how close I am to being seen at all. And in the meantime, I'm feeling that anxiety come up because I'm thinking, I don't have a meal, I don't have water, like I should have planned ahead for this. I'm starting to feel kind of tired. This is a lot for me socially to be around this many people who are also kind of angry in this room. And Jesus. So I'm feeling that anxiety build up, and I'm trying to find that balance of, okay, I hear my anxiety. I don't want it to dictate my actions, but I also need to respect myself in it. So I told myself, all right, 11 o'clock, if I haven't been seen yet, I'll leave. Well, 11 came and I had messaged you about it. I was on the fence about staying or going. Is it worth the time investment that I've put in at this point to just see it out? Or it's going to mess up now my training schedule and my meal schedule, and the anxiety is building and I'm dehydrated and I'm frustrated and all these things. Is it like, what's the trade-off here? And you encouraged me, like, you put in the time, wait it out a little longer. So I told myself 12. At 12, I'll leave. And I found myself calm in that moment, because it was like I addressed my anxiety. I didn't just like, shove it down. I shouldn't be feeling this. Everyone else is also dealing with the same thing, so I need to just chill out. Like, I did feel that. I felt that frustration itself, thinking, why can't I just be as patient as everyone else? But that wasn't a productive mindset. So I really tried to focus on setting that aside, focusing on what I could control. 12 came around and I found myself again weighing, do I stay now that I put in any more time? I could be soon. And I thought, I promised myself 12. And if I want to trust myself to react appropriately in situations like this, I also need to build trust with myself by keeping my promises to myself. So I made an agreement with myself that I would stay calm and keep my emotions in check and wait it out until 12. I fulfilled that. Now I need to hold true to my promise to myself and leave, and know that, yeah, I'm going to have to reschedule this and do this again. But now I've also learned from this, one, how to manage my anxiety in this situation. Two, make sure all my paperwork is up to date. Three, pack a meal and water, because at the end of the day, we're just kids and we just need snacks sometimes. And keep your promises to yourself, because if that is a very simple way to build trust with yourself, so that when you do get put in situations like this, you can rely on yourself to find that sense of peace, because you can trust yourself with the promises that you give yourself. So, did I handle it perfectly? No, because I did break my promise initially at that 11 o'clock. I did not really prepare effectively, but I learned from it. And with that, I felt like I did develop skills to manage my anxiety more effectively in the future, while also treating my anxiety for what it is: a valuable, necessary indicator for me, a flag, a warning sign, a communication method that my body has used to let me know that I'm not getting something that I need.
So good. And I think an exercise that we can give our viewers is to be that have that awareness all the time. So when any kind of emotion comes up, start taking inventory of that. Oh, this is an emotion that I feel. Okay, well, let me look at the stimulus. What just happened? And why might I be feeling this now? And step outside of it. Just practice that this week. Be extremely aware of the things you're feeling, the thoughts that follow the emotions you're feeling, or just any thought that seems to be bringing you to a negative place that doesn't make you feel full in life. I think, just becoming aware of those things will then lead to the ability to be able to heal some of those trauma areas in life. I think we can talk about that next week. But for me, I think an example that where I see this happening a lot in my life, but one that has been extremely beneficial in terms of actually pursuing my purpose-driven life, is that I tend to do this productive procrastination that we talk about. And that has come up where I'm sitting here at my desk and I know I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of really good ideas in terms of addressing enlightenment and empowerment and doing the inward journey really well. And I feel like life coaching is this thing for me, but I've never been able to face the fear of actually moving forward with it, because I have this internal fear of not being able to communicate what I am truly thinking in my mind, and that there won't be much buy-in. So facing those fears has kept me stuck. But what I didn't realize that I do is, okay, I have all these things I want to share, and I start to kind of have this feeling of uncertainty, unknown, fear starts to enter. So I just do everything else that I need to do instead of start to write this stuff down, to create modules and to form a true document, an outline, a book, whatever it's going to be. I just, all right, well, I have all these other emails I need to do, or maybe, it's been 2 hours, I should eat, or I should go just clean my office. I start doing all these productive tasks that are truly just procrastination because I'm scared. And so this week I've just been so much more aware of that and have actually started building an outline about the inward journey, really diving into fear as a compass and things of that nature, and have started to actually put into action my purpose that is now leading to me feeling so much more full just in my day to day.
I love that. And there's a concept of urgent versus important. And it's recognizing that, like, that state of productive procrastination, there's a lot of things in our life that are urgent that we have to get done. We need to answer emails. We need to, probably clean the house at some point, like, need to eat, like, all those things are urgent. But, like, knowing your priorities, which is a concept we talk about a lot, is vital for identifying what's important. And you need to address what's important first, because there will be lots of things in life that are urgent. And I think that's where this self-dive does become so important, because self-work isn't just about, like, this vague concept of self-love and peace and joy. And it's like, no, it's so you can be more effective in your life, in your relationships, at work. It's very tangible as well. We shouldn't separate the two things. So I love that we both kind of gave examples of, like, this isn't just some like vague inward journey, yes, but the inward journey is so that our outward journey is that much more fulfilling.
Right.
So next week, we're going to go into kind of part 2 of this power of choice, where we talk about that transition from, okay, now I've stepped outside to analyze my emotions, to kind of see them for what they are, and give myself the grace to understand that they're valuable in and of themselves. Now, how do I then take action out of that? So we're going to move in from the understanding into the doing next week, and some examples of how to incorporate that into your life.
Great. Love it.
So thank you guys for watching or listening. Please like, subscribe, stay tuned for part 2 next week. Comment below anything that you'd like to see or anything that you've been enjoying, and we will see you next week.